All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Got some time with your family and friends. It was a short week last week for investors and for trading for the markets. So this week's going to be pretty important. Although there isn't a ton of news, there are some really, really important pieces of news that I want to talk about. So let's jump right in without wasting any time here. So we're talking about the jobs report. Everything is about jobs right now. How the labor in the U.S. is running, how the labor is being filled. What we're talking about from the point of job growth, earnings growth, how that's affecting inflation. That's what we're talking about today. The only piece of earnings that I'm going to talk about, I'll bring it up real quick. I personally have a sizable holding in C3 AI. It's not a recommendation or financial advice or anything like that. And I've been holding this thing for a while and got killed with this stock coming down. So I'm definitely going to have my eyes on their earnings report this week. The consensus is a pretty sizable loss. But that's what I'm going to be watching for December 1st. So let's jump into what we're really talking about today. So we know that coming off of this short Thanksgiving week, we really need to double down and focus on what's happening from the perspective of the U.S. Labor market, frankly. And really what that means is jobs, people filling those roles, and what they're getting paid. So we are expecting the Labor Department's jobs report, and this is the monthly jobs report, to come out on Friday. And what we're looking for is an idea of the strength in and around how we're filling those roles, what kind of participation rates we're seeing, and how it's affecting the overall U.S. economy here. Now, from a standpoint of what we're seeing from a consensus perspective, we're looking for, give or take, about 500,000 jobs for November. And the expectation is the pace of hiring is slowing or staying about steady with October, which was 531,000 at the time. And we are hoping for, or at least this is what the consensus is, that we're going to see an improvement to the rate of 4.5%, down from 4.6% in October. Now, to be fair, these aren't crazy numbers. They're not huge jumps, but this is actually what normal feels like. You want to see a slow and steady improvement. You don't want to see the whipsawing of numbers all over the place. Now, this is a quote specifically from Paul Ashworth, who's the chief North American economist for Capital Economics, that they're expecting non-farm payrolls to have risen by 500,000 in November, but the growing risk of a winter COVID wave and a dwindling supply of available workers are likely to continue or in his words, will weigh on jobs growth soon. Words like soon are tough to work with. But I think the reality is weather's going to get bad. COVID could get bad again. These are things we need to really make sure we're paying attention to. Now, just to continue on that quote, employment growth can't continue at this pace for much longer unless the labor force stages a more notable recovery. If anything, labor supply could worsen over the coming months as a federal vaccine mandate covering 100 million workers begins on January 4th. Ashworth also added that suggests wage growth will remain strong, and they're expecting 0.4% month over month rise in average hourly earnings in October. There's actually a lot to bite off here in these statements of what's going on. So let's talk about this. There is an oft misunderstood connection between job growth, inflation growth, and how that will help things in the economy. Now, you have to separate economy from just simply being good or bad. How the economy and GDP grows is not necessarily how good it is for the people participating in the economy. And so the reason I'm calling this out very frankly is, to put it as simple as possible, if we're having issues with inflation today, okay, and now we're going to pay people more money, that means more money into the marketplace, okay? So the issue here is that as more money is flowing into the pockets, that money then flows back into the economy. This means that there's more money pumping into businesses, rent, things like that, which means inflation has more power or more gas to keep being pushed forward. So it's a really fine line we have to walk to make sure, or to understand perhaps even better, how inflation is affected by the jobs market, how inflation is matched by increase in pay, and that strength of the labor market to negotiate those better terms. So that's why it's so important we understand what direction we're going in, how job growth is working, participation rate is working, and also what that hourly wage or salary wage is looking like and how that's growing as well. If it's all in line and makes sense, then we're probably okay. If it looks like things are out of whack, this could speak to near-term issues. It could speak to a worsening, as we heard from the quote, come the cold months. So this is a busy week coming off of a short week in terms of trading and active market. Over the weekend, we saw crypto doing some weird things. I'm going to keep this really, really short. You got to pay attention to the jobs market this week. This is a defining period. It's coming at a time of change for the weather. It's coming at a change in what we're looking at from inflation rates. We really need to see some positivity here, even if it's small. We just need to see some growth in jobs, some increase in participation, some lowering of our jobless claims and unemployment rather. So those are the things I'm looking out for. I'm keeping it short. Market just opened. Good luck today. Talk to y'all soon. Thanks so much for watching.